There are moments in life when the silence of the universe feels heavier than thunder. When you witness injustice, deceit, cruelty, or betrayal, and the guilty seem to walk free, you wonder, where is justice? Where is the divine order that is supposed to govern this world? Why does it appear that those who harm others prosper, while those who live with integrity carry the burden of their conscience and pain? In those moments, remember this: silence does not mean absence. The quiet of God is not indifference. It is the stillness before the inevitable correction of things. When evil rises, it often does so with noise, with pride, with arrogance, with a display of power. But when it falls in silence. The punishment of evil is not always marked by thunder or flame. It is marked by emptiness, by the slow unraveling of the very soul that once rejoiced in wrongdoing. The divine does not always strike loudly, because the deepest punishments are not inflicted by hand, but by consequence. There is a justice that does not announce itself, but it always arrives. It arrives in the form of discontent, in the loss of peace, in the weight of a restless conscience. The wicked man may appear to live well, but inside he decays. His smile is a mask stretched thin over rot. Every act of cruelty plants a seed within the soul of the cruel. Every lie told for personal gain poisons the heart of the liar. Every betrayal sows confusion in the betrayer's own path. And though they may walk tall among others, inside they stumble through shadows. The universe is not blind, it is patient. What seems like the silence of God is often the slow turning of justice, a justice so precise that it does not need noise to prove its presence. The punishment of evil does not always come in the form of loss of wealth, or health, or position. It often comes in a far deeper way. The loss of peace, the erosion of meaning, the corrosion of the soul. To be cut off from peace is the greatest punishment, because no riches, no pleasures, no applause can fill the void of an unquiet mind. Those who commit evil believe they have escaped the consequences, because the heavens do not thunder against them. But the divine law does not rush. It allows them time not as mercy, but as rope, to either awaken or hang themselves with their own deeds. You will see them laugh, boast, and continue their ways. You will see them receive praise from those who are blind to their true nature. And yet, if you could look within them, you would see a storm that never ends. The noise outside hides the torment within. For every false victory they gain, something within them breaks a little more. The most frightening punishment is not the one you can see. It is the one that occurs in the unseen realm of the soul. The heart that grows numb, the conscience that grows dim, the inability to feel love, to feel gratitude, to find meaning. That is the silent punishment that unfolds without spectacle. They are not free, though they appear so. They are prisoners of their own emptiness, enslaved to the consequences of their own character. This is how the divine punishes evil, by letting it consume itself. There is no need for intervention when evil carries the seed of its own destruction. Look at the tyrant who once ruled through fear. Where is his peace now? Look at the deceiver who once rejoiced in manipulation. Where is his trust now? Look at the selfish man who took from others without care. Where is his contentment now? The punishment of evil is not that it ends, but that it continues until the soul itself begs for relief. And when that moment comes, when the wicked man looks around and finds nothing left but shadows, that is when he understands the true weight of divine silence. God does not shout because the truth does not need to. The truth simply stands unshaken, waiting for the noise of falsehood to exhaust itself. The wise understand that justice is not delayed, it is deliberate. What appears as delay is preparation. The longer the silence, the deeper the lesson. There is no escape from one's own nature. You can hide your actions from others, but not from your own soul. You can deceive others, but you cannot deceive the quiet observer within, nor the law that governs all things. Every thought, every action, every intention creates an echo, and those echoes return to their source, no matter how far they were cast. This is why the punishment of evil is not something you must seek. It is something already in motion. Those who have been wronged must learn this truth deeply. Do not wait for thunderous revenge. Do not look for the fall of the wicked with your own eyes. You may never see it, but know that it happens, sometimes in the open, sometimes behind closed doors, sometimes in the hidden corners of the heart. Let go of your desire to see the downfall of those who have hurt you, for your peace lies in the understanding that the universe needs no witness to carry out justice. The greatest act of trust is to remain calm in the face of evil, knowing that the silence of the divine is not weakness but wisdom. When you are hurt, betrayed, or mocked by the wicked, do not waste your life seeking their punishment. Their punishment has already begun. The moment they acted against truth, against love, against integrity, they placed a stone upon their own soul. That stone grows heavier with each repetition of evil until it crushes them from within. You do not need to lift your hand in revenge. Time and consequence are far more precise than any blow you could strike. Those who live wrongly will eventually face themselves, and that confrontation is more unbearable than any pain another could inflict. Silence is the language of the divine, because it allows truth to reveal itself without force. The noise of men fades, but the quiet laws of the universe endure. Those who are good may suffer for a while, but their suffering refines them. It makes them wiser, stronger, more grounded in peace. Those who are evil may flourish for a while, but their success rots from the inside, leaving them hollow. Do not envy them. Do not compare your journey to theirs. They walk toward their own darkness, while you walk toward light, even if your path is steep and lonely. Evil is clever. It disguises itself in charm, in false kindness, in power, in pleasure. But it cannot hide from the mirror of time. Time strips away all disguises. The silent punishment of God is not immediate, because the divine has no need to rush. It waits until the mask falls, until the soul has nowhere left to hide. That is when the truth is revealed in its purest form, and what once appeared as strength is exposed as weakness. What once appeared as freedom is seen as bondage. The punishment of evil is not separate from evil. It is part of it. The venom lies within the bite. The suffering lies within the act itself. Those who choose evil choose their own ruin, even if they cannot yet see it. You, who have been wronged, must not let bitterness corrupt you. When you wish for revenge, you only join the same fire that burns them. You become part of the same decay that consumes them. The true strength lies in restraint, in understanding that you are not the judge. You are the student. Life will teach them what you cannot. Life will correct them in ways you never could. Let your peace be your protest. Let your calm be your weapon. Let your silence be your victory. Those who trust in divine order know that nothing escapes it. Every act carries its return. The liar loses trust. The betrayer loses love. The greedy lose gratitude. The cruel lose compassion. These are the invisible chains that bind them. They may not see the bars around them, but they are imprisoned all the same. Their laughter is hollow. Their pleasures are temporary. They live surrounded by the noise of distraction because they cannot face the silence that reveals their truth. And that silence is God's whisper. It says, "Be still and see who you have become." To those who fear that justice will never come, look closely at the lives of those who live in deceit. Look at their eyes when they are alone. Look at how they cannot rest without noise, without constant stimulation. That is not peace. That is punishment. Peace cannot coexist with guilt. Joy cannot coexist with malice. The divine punishment is not a lightning strike. It is the gradual separation from peace, until the soul becomes its own tormentor. The guilty do not escape. They suffer in the very world they created. What is given by evil hands does not last. What is built on lies collapses in time. The silence of God is not abandonment, it is observation. The divine watches, measures, and allows. For every action, there is a balance, and though the balance may tilt for a while, it always returns to center. Do not rush the scales. Let the universe do its quiet work. You will see that those who once laughed at others' pain will one day understand it intimately. Those who used others as tools will one day find themselves abandoned. Those who betrayed trust will one day crave it and find none. That is how balance restores itself, not through drama, but through reflection. Evil feeds on reaction. It seeks to provoke anger, to spread corruption through response. But when you remain calm, when you refuse to answer evil with evil, you cut its chain. You become free while it remains trapped in its own web. That is why you must never wish for revenge. The divine already has its own rhythm. The silence that follows injustice is not neglect. It is the slow construction of justice beyond your sight. The universe is not asleep. It is exact. Every debt is paid, every imbalance corrected. You need only endure and trust. Remember that silence itself is a test. Can you wait without losing faith? Can you observe evil without becoming it? Can you believe in justice when you do not see it? That is where strength is forged. The silence of God is an invitation to grow, to detach, to understand that justice is not for your eyes, but for your soul. You are not here to witness the fall of others. You are here to rise above what they have done to you. When you master your heart in the presence of injustice, you become part of the justice itself. And when the punishment finally unfolds, it often comes quietly. The powerful lose what they cannot replace. The cruel are left without those they controlled. The deceitful find themselves surrounded by deception. The greedy become slaves to their own desires. The betrayer becomes the one betrayed. The law of return is subtle but absolute. The divine punishes not with fire from the sky, but with the mirror of truth, forcing every soul to live within the world it has created. You cannot escape the environment born of your own actions. Evil creates its own prison. There is peace in knowing this. You do not need to carry hate. You do not need to seek revenge. You do not need to wish for the downfall of the wicked. All you need is patience. Patience is not weakness. It is trust in the silent justice that governs all things. Let the universe speak in its own time. The silence that follows injustice is not the end. It is the beginning of reckoning. And when it comes perfectly, without error. So live without bitterness. Do not let the poison of others enter your heart. The evil they do is their punishment. The peace you keep is your reward. When God is silent, He is not absent. He is watching, measuring, teaching, and waiting for the right moment when the balance must be restored. And it always is. In the silence, justice breathes. In the stillness, truth works. In patience, all things are revealed. So trust the silence. For in it, the divine punishes evil more perfectly than thunder ever could. The punishment of evil is rarely immediate, because the universe gives every soul a chance to see itself clearly. That is the first mercy, time to awaken. But when a person refuses to awaken, when they continue to justify their wrongs, when they silence their conscience long enough, the mercy becomes judgment. The same silence that once gave them space to change becomes the silence that watches them collapse. No sound announces this moment. It happens quietly, like the setting of the sun. One day they wake up and realize they have lost what matters most: the ability to feel alive. That is how the divine punishes, not by destroying the body, but by emptying the spirit. Many imagine punishment as something external: a fall from power, a loss of wealth, a public humiliation. But the truest punishment is internal. It is when the soul no longer recognizes itself, when joy tastes bitter, when peace becomes unreachable. The divine does not take vengeance. It restores order, and order is restored when every cause meets its effect. When a person spreads pain, they will inevitably live inside that pain. It may not come through others. It may come through their own heart. For evil creates distance between the soul and the divine, and that distance feels like eternal cold. There is something haunting about those who live wrongly. At first, they appear strong, confident, fearless. But look deeper, and you will find fear in their laughter. You will find exhaustion behind their arrogance. They build their happiness on illusions, and illusions require constant maintenance. They must lie again and again to keep their false world from falling apart. They must constantly seek validation, because without it, they are nothing. That endless hunger for control, for attention, for distraction, that is the punishment. The more they grasp, the emptier they become. You see, no one escapes the natural law of balance. The divine need not intervene loudly, because it built justice into the structure of existence itself. Evil is self-consuming. It destroys the vessel that contains it. The liar cannot live in truth. The cruel cannot live in peace. The greedy cannot live in gratitude. The proud cannot experience humility, and without humility, there can be no growth, no connection, no love. The punishment, therefore, is not something separate. It is the living consequence of the character they have chosen to become. Think of the tree that grows crooked because it refused the discipline of the wind. It may rise high for a time, but it will one day break under its own imbalance. So too with the human spirit. The crooked soul may rise quickly, but it will one day collapse under the weight of its own corruption. That collapse is not a curse. It is simply the natural return of what has been sent out. Every act that violates the good eventually bends back toward the one who committed it. You must learn to see beyond the surface. Do not envy the wicked, no matter how successful they appear. Their success is temporary, for it is built on what cannot last. They may gather wealth, but they cannot buy peace. They may have influence, but they cannot command respect. They may be surrounded by people, but they are alone in their spirit. The silence that follows them is not peace. It is the quiet of emptiness. They are haunted by what they have done, even if they cannot name it. In contrast, those who live rightly often suffer quietly, and it may seem unjust. But the suffering of the righteous is purification. The suffering of the wicked is corruption. One cleanses, the other decays. Pain in the hands of the good becomes wisdom. Pain in the hands of the wicked becomes torment. This is the invisible difference. The divine does not punish in the same way it teaches. For the good, trials are lessons. For the evil, they are judgments. When you are wronged, resist the desire to question divine justice. Resist the thought that evil has triumphed. Nothing triumphs against truth. The triumph of evil is illusion. It is the flicker of a candle in a storm. The storm does not announce its coming, it gathers quietly, and when it arrives, the candle is gone. Such is the way of silent punishment. It arrives when the proud believe they have conquered all, when they least expect it. For arrogance blinds them to the fact that every action has a return, and time does not forget. Evil men think that silence means permission. They believe that because nothing happens today, nothing will ever happen. But silence is not permission, it is preparation. It is the universe waiting until the right moment, when their own choices complete the circle. No one escapes what they are. If a man builds his life on deceit, deceit will destroy it. If a man builds his joy on the pain of others, pain will become his companion. The divine does not need to punish him. He punishes himself by what he has chosen to love. And yet, there is a deeper mystery in this silence. The same silence that allows punishment also allows redemption. Those who have done wrong can awaken, if they are brave enough to face themselves. The silence of God is both judgment and mercy. It gives time for the heart to turn back toward light. But the longer one resists that light, the darker the silence becomes, until the soul can no longer bear it. Many will choose distraction over reflection, noise over silence, indulgence over repentance, because they fear what the quiet will reveal. But the quiet reveals the truth, and without truth, there can be no peace. So when you look upon the world and see evil thriving, remember that you are seeing only the surface of a much deeper process. The roots of corruption spread unseen, but they also rot unseen. The fall of the wicked begins long before it is visible. It begins when the conscience is silenced, when the heart grows cold, when the ability to love fades. That is the real downfall. Everything that follows, loss, exposure, ruin, is only the outward reflection of the inner collapse that has already taken place. In the same way, those who live with integrity are rewarded long before the world notices. Their peace, their strength, their clarity, these are invisible blessings that grow quietly in the heart. You cannot see them with the eyes, but you can feel their presence. And just as the punishment of evil is silent, so too is the reward of goodness. Both move in silence. Both are guided by unseen law. The universe does not need applause to do its work. Let your faith in this law be stronger than your anger. When you see injustice, do not become it. When you see cruelty, do not reflect it. The world does not need more reaction, it needs restraint. The wicked destroy themselves, you need not help them. Your only task is to remain aligned with truth, to keep your heart pure, your actions clean, your mind calm. For when you stay in harmony with what is right, you remain protected from the poison that consumes others. Remember, the divine punishes not to harm, but to heal the balance that has been broken. The silence that punishes evil is the same silence that strengthens the good. One suffers from its emptiness, the other is nourished by its peace. The difference lies in the heart. The same sun hardens clay and softens wax. The same silence that torments the guilty comforts the pure. That is the wisdom of the divine order. It gives each soul exactly what it has prepared for itself. When you understand this, you no longer fear injustice, nor do you crave revenge. You begin to see the perfection in what once seemed unfair. You see that evil carries within it the seed of its own undoing, and that all you must do is remain patient while it unfolds. The world may appear unjust, but it is not chaotic. Everything is recorded in the silence, and everything returns in time. So do not speak too quickly when you see the wicked celebrate. Do not think they are free, they are only loud. Silence is the language of truth, and truth always speaks last. The loudest ones are rarely the strongest. They are simply drowning out the echo of their own conscience. The ones who live quietly, with dignity and peace, are closer to the divine than they know. For they have mastered the art of waiting, of trusting, of understanding that silence is not the absence of justice. It is the form it takes before it appears. In the end, every soul stands before its own creation. No one escapes themselves. The punishment of evil is that it becomes its own world, its own prison, its own punishment. The blessing of the righteous is that they too live in the world they have built. A world of peace, patience, and inner freedom. The divine does not punish or reward as man does. It simply mirrors the truth of who you have become. So walk rightly, even when wronged. Speak truthfully, even when others lie. Forgive not because they deserve it, but because your soul deserves peace. Do not worry about the timing of justice. Justice is not delayed, it is deliberate. When God is silent, He is not absent. He is teaching, watching, and letting each soul reveal itself through time. And in that revelation, every heart receives exactly what it has earned. The silence of God is the most profound expression of justice because it allows truth to unfold naturally without force. It allows the guilty to destroy themselves and the innocent to strengthen themselves. It allows light to rise without needing to extinguish darkness. It simply waits until darkness collapses under its own weight. That is the silent punishment of evil, and it is perfect. You may not see it today or tomorrow, but it is already happening quietly, relentlessly, with divine precision. And when it arrives, it will not need to announce itself. Truth never does. When the wicked fall, they rarely understand what has happened to them. They look for causes outside themselves. They blame fate, luck, betrayal, the envy of others. They never look inward, for to look inward is to face the architect of their ruin. That is why their punishment is eternal, not because it is endless in time, but because it is endless in blindness. They cannot see what destroyed them, and so they repeat it again and again. That blindness is the truest punishment. To see clearly is grace, to be blind to truth is torment. It is written in the laws of existence that nothing born of evil can endure. Even if it lasts a long time, its decay has already begun. When you build upon deceit, you build on shifting sand. When you build upon arrogance, you build upon air. When you build upon cruelty, you build upon your own eventual loneliness. The punishment of evil is written in the very structure of life. It is not a special act of vengeance. It is the natural unfolding of what has always been there. The divine does not need to interfere in the affairs of men. It simply allows the nature of things to reveal itself. When you plant thorns, you do not harvest roses. When you plant lies, you do not reap peace. When you plant harm, you do not find happiness. The wicked may deny this law, but they cannot escape it. The universe is silent, but it is never unjust. Its silence is the echo of perfect order. It speaks through time, through consequence, through the weight of each choice. Do not think that silence is softness. It is strength disguised. Noise is fragile, silence is eternal. The punishment of evil comes from that strength, from the quiet endurance of truth. The truth does not argue, does not shout, does not threaten, it waits. And in time, everything false dissolves before it. What the wicked mistake for victory is merely a delay before collapse. The higher they climb on deceit, the harder the fall when reality calls their name. It is the same silence that watches stars burn bright and then fade into nothing. Time is patient, but it never forgets. The one who lives unjustly creates ripples that return. You may not see them today, but they are already on their way. A cruel word may echo years later in the loneliness of the speaker. A deceitful act may return as mistrust when they need faith the most. A selfish choice may become regret when they finally understand love. That is how God punishes silently, not by sudden wrath, but by turning the wheel of life until every seed finds its soil again. You must learn to see this truth as liberation. It frees you from the need to carry revenge in your heart. Revenge poisons the vessel that holds it. Hatred blinds the one who nurtures it. The universe does not need your anger. It only needs your patience. Do not fight the wicked, outlast them. Do not match their noise, silence them. Let the weight of truth do what it always does. It restores balance without your interference. The wise know that everything evil carries its own destruction. You cannot cheat this law, no matter how clever, powerful, or charming you are. The silent punishment begins the moment a person betrays what is good within them. It begins with the loss of inner peace. It begins when sleep no longer refreshes, when laughter no longer satisfies, when every pleasure becomes dull. The divine does not need thunder. It punishes by removing the taste of joy from all that was once sweet. There is no torment greater than living disconnected from one's own conscience. To the outside world, the wicked may appear calm, but within them there is no rest. They must run constantly, from truth, from silence, from themselves. They fill their lives with movement, noise, distraction, power, attention, anything that can drown the voice of conscience. But the voice is patient. It whispers when the lights go out. It calls when the applause fades. It returns when the night is long and the noise is gone. That is the divine's silent punishment, to be left alone with oneself when there is no peace within. For the one who lives rightly, silence is comfort. For the one who lives wrongly, silence is torment. The same world gives both heaven and hell, depending on the state of the soul. The divine does not separate them by place, but by peace. One heart carries its paradise, the other carries its punishment. You will find the righteous resting easily in stillness, while the wicked cannot sit still for a moment. Their punishment is their own company. The one who has lost inner harmony cannot bear silence, for silence reveals all that they are. So, do not envy the wicked when they appear to rise. Do not curse the heavens when the unjust seem to win. Their success is brief. Their peace is false. Their laughter hollow. The divine does not rush because truth does not need to chase lies. It waits for them to fall apart. And fall apart they always do. What is built on deceit cannot withstand the weight of reality. What is built on harm cannot bear the weight of conscience. What is built without truth cannot survive the test of time. When you witness the silence of God, do not think it is weakness. It is precision. The divine does not act in noise, because truth has no need for spectacle. A storm makes sound because it is temporary. The stars move in silence because they are eternal. The punishment of evil moves like the stars, slow, unseen, unstoppable. One day, all masks fall. One day, every soul meets its own reflection. And when that reflection comes, there is no court, no defense, no excuse, only the truth standing quietly asking, "What have you become?" The greatest punishment of all is not what God does to a man. It is what God allows a man to do to himself. When the divine withdraws peace, it leaves a soul alone with its choices. That loneliness, that inner emptiness, that coldness that no warmth can fill, that is judgment. You can run from others, but not from your own heart. You can deceive the world, but not the silence that lives within you. That silence is the voice of eternity, and it never lies. If you have been wronged, understand this deeply. Your peace is proof that justice exists. Every time you resist the urge for vengeance, you step out of the same fire that consumes others. Your calm is not weakness, it is wisdom. Those who trust in the quiet justice of the divine walk a different path. They do not need to see the fall of their enemies to know that balance will be restored. They only need to keep walking, keep growing, keep staying aligned with truth. For light does not need to fight darkness, it only needs to shine. And remember, sometimes, the punishment of the wicked is that they never change. They continue in their blindness, repeating their errors, thinking themselves victorious while moving closer to ruin. The divine allows this not out of cruelty, but out of truth, because the only way to learn is to face the result of one's own choices. Those who refuse to learn must live inside their own mistakes until they understand. That understanding may come in this life, or the next, or in the quiet moments between, when all illusions fall away and only the truth remains. When you feel anger rise in you, breathe and remember, no one escapes what they have created. Every action, every intention, every thought is recorded in the structure of being itself. Time does not erase it, it transforms it. The good becomes peace, the evil becomes pain. That is the law of life. You need not interfere with it. Trust the silence. It is the sound of perfect justice unfolding. The punishment of evil is not a story of wrath. It is a story of order. The divine does not take sides, it restores balance. It does not act out of anger, it acts out of truth. What is wrong is corrected. What is unjust is leveled. What is false is revealed. The silence of God is the highest form of speech, for in that silence, everything is answered. You must learn to hear it, not with your ears, but with your understanding. And one day, when you look back on all that once seemed unfair, you will see that nothing was forgotten, nothing ignored, nothing lost. Every wound taught you something. Every betrayal refined you. Every delay protected you. Justice was never absent. It was simply silent, working behind the curtain of time. And when the curtain lifts, when truth finally reveals itself, you will see that everything was in perfect balance all along. The silence of God was not punishment. It was protection. It was patience. It was wisdom. When God silently punishes evil, it is not to destroy, but to restore harmony. It is not to take revenge, but to cleanse what has been stained. The wicked destroy themselves, the divine merely lets them. The righteous grow through pain, the divine merely guides them. Everything moves toward balance, and balance is justice. So, trust the silence. Trust the unseen. Trust that even when heaven says nothing, it is speaking in a language deeper than sound. In the end, all things return to truth. All souls meet their reflection. And in that reflection, the silent punishment of evil is complete.